everyone. Welcome to a new edition of the JKL Media Reviews show. This is our The Expanse series where we are discussing each episode of The Expanse. And today's episode is Doors and Corners, the second episode of season 2. And with me again this week, as usual, are my lovely and talented co-hosts, Jesse. Hi, Jesse.
Hello.
And Lou. Hi, Lou.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to February 1st, 2026.
Yeah, February.
A whole month has already gone by.
I know. It's so fast. When you get old like us, time goes
Yes,
by really
a
fast.
month is a day.
Exactly, exactly. So, discussing this episode, I found it pretty interesting and action-packed, and I'd like to hear your guys' views. Let's start with you, Lou. Quick and
Um,
dirty.
Interestingly enough, for me, for this episode, the most interesting stuff was happening with the UN, whereas with the crew of the Rocinante, there were some interesting tidbits and a pretty good action sequence, a space battle sequence. But yeah, I found all the interesting stuff was happening on Earth.
Excellent. How about you, Jesse?
Yeah, I was torn between both storylines. Liked them both. I do think that it was interesting to see Christian continuing to maneuver, and you have to love how Miller ends a debate.
Yeah, I would say almost a negotiation. We are
Yes.
starting to get into a negotiation there, and he had an interesting way of resolving it.
He,
I personally thought that the stories were equally intriguing to me. I see where you're coming from, Lou. That UN story was riveting, but also the boarding party and all that was pretty exciting for me. As far as this show goes, that's a pretty hefty action sequence and also some tension there. So I want to let's start with the Rocinante up until the boarding parties start to go out. I particularly want to talk about Alex's training and how he took that, and also the interactions he had with both the Belters that they saved from Eros and also with Amos. Let's start with you, Jesse. What did you think about the Rocinante stuff and Alex in particular this week?
I I liked their discussion. The way that they we sit there and they go back and forth with Fred, right? The guy debating on he's wondering where they've been, what's happening. They discuss all that.
I
One
want
of
to
the
I want
yeah,
to talk about Fred in more depth after this
okay.
too.
Yeah, I know this is a minor point, but it's interesting. They actually discuss where are we going to get more bullets? And
Mm,
that's something normally that is not covered, that you like even in a show that is set in Earth, the only time you hear ammunition is when they're cornered and like how only got one clip left or something. And normally you aren't, that isn't discussed at all. So we continue to have lots of give and take between each other. And I love the like when he was at the bar when Amos and Alex are at the bar and Amos pays a woman just to sit there and listen to him. Yeah, they continue to mesh as a couple, as a group, and so a lot of fun stuff.
yeah, I like that they highlight how Holden feels too when he says it's good. I enjoy that we're not trying to kill each other anymore. You know that,
Yeah.
and then the It's almost more like a camaraderie between Alex and Amos when he's, I don't want to listen to this anymore. There's a camaraderie in that where he feels so comfortable that he's just, I know you're just ranting. Let's just get you a sounding board and I have better things to do. I enjoyed that as well. And then his frustration with practicing. I also enjoyed the bullet conversation because you're right that it's like people have unlimited bullets in a lot of shows,
Yeah.
and this was a bit of realism for me. Okay, let's move on to Lou.
Yeah, I like that scene, even though even on the first viewing, though, it was pretty obvious to me that as Amos was, or Al, as Vaz was whining, complaining about not saving enough people and that Amos had left because they pulled in so tightly on him. You're going, something's going on here because why would they be so
Hmm.
tight on him beyond giving the actor a chance to really emote square into the camera? But what I think the scene also highlights for me is the strengths and weaknesses of the characters because Alex may be a good pilot, but he's not a very good command person or a leader because he can't read the room. If you're going to complain to somebody about stuff, who's the worst person that you can pick to do that with? It's
Amos.
Amos
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
he's so pragmatic. Everything's black and white for him. He's got no time for equivocations.
bullshit, right?
Yeah, does the morality of a situation doesn't appeal to or attract him in any way or phase him. What happened? Uh, we did what we did, and beating yourself up about it is a waste of time because you can't change it. And life is hard, and get over it. Let's keep moving forward. I think that scene just really highlights again that the strengths and weaknesses of both the characters. So I really enjoyed it from that perspective.
Yeah, and again, it highlights the fact that Amos is used to the hard stuff
Yes,
and Alex isn't.
and will be interesting to find out why.
Well, we know a little bit that he grew up on a planet or a station like Eros, where
Mm,
I'm just saying he
mm.
already mentioned that he was around prostitutes and stuff like that growing up. Yeah,
Growing up.
I can infer from that you're saying now there's going to be more. I
There's
do.
show has layers.
I'm liking him a little bit more each episode, so let's hope that continues. I thought that was pretty funny when he pays that hooker to listen to him. Some would say that's what hookers do a lot of times. We see that in media over and over that the hooker with a heart of gold is paid to they have sex with you, but they also listen to all your problems. And so
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. And I also really enjoyed, I don't know if enjoyed is the right word, but I thought it was cool that he goes to fix the problem on the Rocinante, even though it puts his life in peril. And that says a lot about him as well. Hey, I'm here for what we're doing, so I'm gonna risk my life for everyone on board the ship, not just Naomi, which has been his thing. He can see the bigger picture, and I do appreciate that about him. I want to just quickly touch on Holden and Naomi here. They have their own conversation up front, and they're wondering if the crew is speculating about their relationship, but there's also other things that happen in that conversation. So let's touch on that. Lou, let's start with you.
Again, Holden is worried about what Amos is going to think about their
Mm,
relationship. Again, he should know that Amos doesn't really give a shit.
right.
That's
Yeah.
that's he doesn't care one way or the other. He may be in a tense situation where he feels that Naomi's making a decision based solely on her relationship with the Holden, but he'll call her on it,
Sure.
and I think she's got the wherewithal to digest what he's saying and act accordingly. So I just find it funny that it's almost like he's treating Amos as Naomi's father and
Mm,
trying to get his blessing.
yeah, a little bit, a little bit. I
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah, I think the this is almost the trope where you have a workplace romance and the rest of the coworkers, I don't care. That's your
Right.
business, and they're worrying about it overly so much, the rest of them, I don't care. So yeah, I did that interaction that we don't ignore the fact that they have hooked up and there seems to be something there. So yeah, it was good stuff.
Yeah, it reminds me of I worked at MCI for quite some time, and MCI was a phone company for you guys that don't know. They had 1-800 collect. But there was one lady that was a bit of a busybody, and she would go around from person to person and say, "Did you know this? Did you know that?" And the rest of us were like, "Yeah, who cares?" And she never got the hint ever. The rest of us were like, yeah, whatever. I'm here to do my job and go home. And I feel like that's what the Rossi would be like. Hey, we're here. It might be close quarters, but whatever. You guys go behind closed doors. I don't want to see it, but go for it. I also enjoyed that Holden has his coffee and he
Yes.
lets it float around. And Amos says, dude, didn't anyone ever tell you to lock your shit down?
Yeah, stow your Greer.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought that was a funny note as well. Okay. So I want to talk about Fred
Okay.
as its own little bit here. I wondered why he was so angry at the Rossi at first. Why would they ditch the disguise that they made for them? And other than using resources, why would he be so upset about that? There were some puzzles for me there, but one of the things I laughed out loud at is when Miller is talking to him and he goes, "Who is this asshole?" I thought that was great, where he's mad already, and then this dude he doesn't know comes on and starts dictating stuff to him, and Miller gets right up in his face. He's not in the least intimidated by this guy who has murdered many Belters. And we'll get to the discussion about him by Christian and our ex-general, but his interaction with the Rossi, and you can see on his face when he drops the anger completely. So that scene is amazing, I thought. And him working, he's obviously seen Star Wars to hide the ship behind his ship. That's like a tactic they used in Star Wars. And I liked his maneuvering very much. You can see that he's had experience with these undercover ops. I want to talk about Fred, whatever you want to bring up, his interaction with the crew of the Rossi and all his maneuvering, his discussions with his second in command, so forth. Let's start with you, Jesse.
Yeah, I thought one of the scenes was when he's talking to his number one and he says, I thought I'd get out of this leading people to die. And she said, these are volunteers. But you could see, despite his reputation as being a killer, that this is bothering him, right?
Yep.
Convincing people to go die. He is an interesting character. I, the actor should, the actor is very charismatic. And so seeing him back and forth is interesting. And the idea that they're doing this and he is asking people to pay the price. And if they're successful, he's promised them something, but he also made it clear it's very dangerous. An interesting character. I'm looking to get to know more of him.
Yeah, I agree. At first, I thought, hey, this is a shyster, and to hear more of his backstory is enlightening. Let's go to you, Lou.
Yeah, I think everything that he does in this episode is contingent upon the scene that happens on Earth between Christian and the Admiral Selder, who resigns his position as the head of the Navy or Army or whatever. I think it was the Navy. In that we find out that Johnson was duped into attacking the station that we saw in last season's episode where all the civilians were killed. So once you find that out, you have to go back to the beginning of this episode and really the introduction of this character and re-examine everything that he's been doing. And it's I think the most interesting thing is that he did not try to refute the widespread accepted story about himself. Why would he not try to clear his name? And that's what's really interests me about this character right now. And the other important thing I think of this episode is for him is that, as you mentioned, Karen, he's come across as a shyster, but with this reveal by Souther, this character, Fred Johnson, has become a much more complicated and interesting character. And I think that's one of the strengths of the show that they do with a lot of the characters.
Yeah, with him and Amos in particular, we get little drips and drabs about them as the story goes, and it's very satisfying to realize that our assumptions might be incorrect about these characters. I think it's cool that when they subvert our expectations of people in the show.
Yeah, that,
Uh,
sorry to interject.
no, no,
This is one of the things that I love about fiction is that we get to meet a character and we get our initial impressions of them, and then we find out their backstory, and then we go, wow, I was totally wrong about that person. And I always think to myself, how often in life do we meet somebody briefly and form a whole opinion about that person? We might just be catching them on a bad day or a good day, or just the way they're dressed or something like that, that just deflects our opinion one way or the other, positive or negative. And I just I always think to myself, if I had the time to know that person and get their backstory, I might think totally different about them than I am right now. And I think that's one of the strengths of fiction that I enjoy the most because typically in real life, you just don't get those opportunities.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't get to act on those changes. Sometimes when you have a certain impression of someone, you react to that in real life in a certain way that you might not be able to go back and fix later on. And in this case, we get to see like someone from a distance and we can change our opinion and like them or dislike them as we please, and they don't know. Yeah, that it's freer to change our opinion in fiction. And I like you said, I love that.
Yep.
And it really it's good storytelling when you can affect the way I felt about a person in a different way, because sometimes we would be really stubborn about it and just dislike that person all the way. But the writer, sorry, they do it in a way where it's okay for us to change our mind about
Yes, it's
someone.
not
And
preachy. And the
right,
other thing I would mention too is sometimes our perceptions of another person, a lot of the times, most of the times, but it might swing a bit wider, is the current state that we're in when we run across this person. Are we in a good mood? Or are we in a bad mood? Are we happy, sad? Is something happening in our life that's making us view the world through a certain lens that we normally wouldn't? So it's really a fascinating dynamic that I try to employ in my own life as much as possible, but I'm just a person, and
you're human.
I get tired at times or whatever, and
Sure.
I have my moods, and I always try not to, and maybe that makes you come across as wishy-washy because most powerful people or leaders, they pretty well cut through and they just make assumptions about people. Now, if you're good at reading people, a lot of times it might be right, but sometimes you might misread somebody. And I think that's one of the things I struggle with the most about leaders, and that is you guys are taking such an extreme position, yet it doesn't seem like you're taking into account all the factors. And I just have to hope that their instincts are right, which always scares me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Everyone's human, right?
Yep.
And you can't always trust
Yep.
anyone's motivation.
Yep.
Yeah, and again, this conversation just highlights how much we can take from media and use it in our own lives and apply it to what we know. And this show is very deep, I find. And so we have many opportunities to look inward as well.
Yes. And its strength is it doesn't preach.
Yeah, definitely. It's just laying it out.
Yeah.
I also want to mention the moment when Fred is talking to the recruits or the potential recruits, and he spaces the OPA guy. He definitely wanted to make a point. And I want to know, Lou, you've watched this several times now. He sees that the OPA guy has a gun, right? In his pants, in the back of his pants. Does that play into him spacing the guy, that he might have been a threat? I'm not sure what that was about. It was definitely him proving a point to everyone there, but do you have more insight on that?
Yeah, I might not be correct in this, but I do believe the person he killed is the person that put Miller's partner on this or staked him to
No,
the wall.
that guy was killed in the other episode.
Okay.
Miller
Oh,
killed him on
right.
Eros.
Okay.
He's very much like that guy, though.
Yeah. I think that Fred has a lot of battle experience and he doesn't have time for posturing or bullshit. And maybe the gun played a part in it. He obviously noticed it, but I guess he was just, maybe he knows this guy, his backstory, but that's never, this is an assumption on my part. But I think basically he read the situation and said, I don't have time for this. And this guy obviously has sway with people in this room. So I'm just going to cut through the bullshit and this is how I'm going to approach it. So that you can read that as either, again, what I talked about being a leader, you make these decisions that we would really wrestle with. Was it a right decision? I still find that hard to believe. I always would prefer a more peaceful thing, but that's easy to say from the comfort of my comfy chair. When you're in a high stakes situation like this, that you got to put your money where your mouth is, and sometimes you make decisions that are more abrupt than you would under better circumstances.
Yeah, he didn't have time to mess with
Yeah,
that guy. Their time is very limited.
yeah,
Jesse, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of that scene on the train job from Firefly, where Malcolm is talking to the guy and the guy didn't want to hear him and he throws him in the engine.
yeah.
And the next guy, okay, yeah, no, I'm fine, I'm fine.
Mhm.
I wonder how much of this was setting an example, right?
Yeah, I'm sure it was a lot of
Mhm.
it. And some of it
Yeah,
was, I can't deal with this right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
There was a lot that went into that decision, I think. And I do think that, just me personally, I think that him seeing the gun cemented it, as in, this guy is dangerous for me, so I got to get
Hmm.
rid of him.
Yeah,
There's just there's no talking this guy down.
no.
He's not going to change his mind. He's not going to help me out. And this needs to be done. So whatever. And like you said, he has a lot of experience in that. As I said earlier, he's gone through this. He's been in the wars, as it were. And a casualty is nothing, essentially,
Hmm.
especially one that is not going to help him out. Whoever's not on my side is, I guess, he's black and white too. Amos has threatened to do this as well. I think Fred Johnson is leaning towards black and white, but he does see a little bit of gray. And this was just one of those black and white decisions that he had to
Hmm.
make. Okay, let's talk about the boarding parties. What a way to send a FedEx, right? Um,
Yeah.
I said to Sean, does it say FedEx on the side of that? And he's, I don't know. And so I went back and then I walked up to the television and I'm like, yeah, FedEx. I'm actually tracing it on the TV. And I thought that was cool. To dig at product placement, I'm assuming that it was really funny in a very tense situation. I liked how we're seeing again that Miller, he might have been a policeman and in authority and kind of cocky on series, but here he's out of his depth with being in space and dealing with the nitty-gritty of things where he throws up on the transport. And again, we see the kid from the ice hauler that his uncle spaced him, and now he's been saved. And he's on this transport, and he, of course, recognizes Miller as the guy who tried to bust him on series. And he says, hey, Miller says, I'll take care of you. And the guy kind of laughs, the kid kind of laughs and says, I'll keep an eye on you.
Yeah.
And I think that they have this tentative agreement that, yeah, okay, we'll look out for each other when we're down there. I was relieved when it wasn't Miller's transport that was attacked. I think it, and also, that it's not his transport that was attacked, but there's a part of me that was like, oh, thank God. I'm so absorbed in the show that I feel like I don't know when I really, from a story perspective, they're going to save Miller. They land and they board and they think that this dude was shot when really it's just gel rounds. They don't know where it came from. They go and they find the scientists all doing their like, and I've never seen the movie, but it's like Minority Report, I'm guessing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't do the Tom Cruise stuff. There's that Minority Report kind of thing. And then they find Dresden,
It's a good
and
movie for what it's worth.
is it? I'm
Yeah.
Yeah.
still not gonna
Yeah.
watch it.
Yeah.
Except for the
Um,
Hollywood ending, but yeah.
Yeah.
mm. And then they find Dresden, and we get an echo of Fred's behavior at the end of their negotiation with Dresden, where Miller is at the end of his patience and he's avenging Julie. Let's talk about the boarding party and all the stuff that happened there, Lou.
Yeah, it's again interesting way to show a character's persona through a story device in the whole thing about Miller says he hates space and he's out of his element and he gets sick on the space pod, which they call a garbage can and with a rocket
Mm,
motor on it, or so a tin can with a
yep.
rocket motor. So I thought that description was pretty cool, like a vomit comet, I guess you could say.
Mm,
And there's the young belter Diego, who's all pumped up, and but it's at Saving Private Ryan landing at Normandy Beach on D-Day kind of vibe to it. And Miller to puke is says a lot about the discomfort he's feeling because he's usually a pretty in control cucumber. He's got street smarts. He's very good at reading people, but he's really out of his depth being on a spaceship and being in this boarding party. But once the boarding party lands on the space station, then we get the old Miller back. He's back in his element. He's got his feet literally on the ground, so to speak, and he's the one that organizes the boarding party to carry out their mission properly. So a lot of good character stuff in there, and I gotta admit, even now, I still don't know why they would have gel rounds like this. Why would they be using gel rounds? But maybe it's because they can't get real bullets. I
Oh,
don't
could be.
know. Like coming back to the bullet discussion.
That
So
was discussed in the
yeah,
episode.
bullets are scarce in space. So that was weird. And then seeing all those scientists hooked up to the machine, like you said, Minority Report or the Borg,
Hmm.
you could go take it that way as well, was interesting.
A mini collective, as
A
it
mini
were.
collective all working to solve the problem. And why Dresden was in another room by himself, I don't think they ever really explained that, but maybe he's taking the data from those guys and manipulating it in the next stage or something like that. But you've got that whole thing with Dresden. He's just totally absorbed by solving this protomolecule experiment. He doesn't care who he's working for. So he's a real zealot, a science zealot, I guess you could say. And he's got these grandiose visions of saving humanity by being able to manipulate him, never thinking of the consequences of how badly would we change and how much of our humanity would we lose. It's a big story, big story idea dilemma that's brought down pretty well to, can't say Earth, but to a human-sized perspective. And how far do we want to go with this? Do we want to go with the what
You can
happens?
discuss whatever you want to about that story.
Okay, even with Miller solution to the problem?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Then this Dresden character has a lot of information that everybody wants, and it's tempting for Johnson that he's even, despite the dangers of what this research is all about, he's still willing to entertain negotiating a bargain with Dresden. But Miller steps in and gives again has the final say on the word, I guess you could say. The shock on Johnson and Holden's face was, I thought that was really well played. I really enjoyed that. They were like, what the fuck, dude? This guy's got a lot of knowledge and you just blew him away. They do have one of the scientists still alive from
Yep.
the other room, so there's that. Like it's paralleling Fred Johnson's how he killed that guy when he was trying to hire
Right.
the mercenaries, and Miller has the same read of this situation because he knows that if they let this guy live, there's going to be power grabs to get this guy because of what he knows.
Yep.
But it's a parallel storyline. The motivations of the characters are different, but the end result to the solution is the same, that they're going to kill this guy off, which goes to something Stephen King said with stories. He said if your stories are getting bogged down and you complicate it and you can't figure out what to do next, he says it's always a good idea to kill somebody.
Yep. Definitely. And that does leave us with a cliffhanger too. I appreciate that. I'm assuming people didn't back in the day when they had to wait a week to see the fallout from that. But I actually liked his solution because Dresden is creepy and now we don't have to see him anymore. And I don't think the negotiation he was doing with Fred would have been anything good. There's that. I was okay with that. I went, yes, at that point. How about you, Jesse? How'd you feel about that?
Yeah, I loved this solution partly because I didn't care for the scientist either. And and once again, in real life, I am against violence and people being killed without due process. But as a story, it was because I was not buying his arrogance.
Right.
I have to do this. The Genghis Khan, it's a numerical error. And you get to the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. And he hasn't shown that to us yet. Maybe this will come back and it'll be one of those. Sure would be nice if we'd had some great grenades.
Yep.
Maybe this guy is going to do something, but for right now, he is a weasel. And
Was a
yes,
weasel.
yes.
Yeah.
And so Miller's is, I'm, let's end the discussion.
Yep.
I understand Fred Johnson's idea of maybe I can use this.
Right.
I get him the same reason they didn't destroy the sample, right? This is too valuable to get rid of. This guy knows things and let's think about this. No, there's nothing to think about. He's caused the death of hundreds, if not thousands of people. He has no regret. He's not, yeah, humanity. Let's just, it's similar to, I'm throwing him out the air locker.
Yep.
This is done. I did not see that coming. I
Yeah,
was like,
same.
whoa. And was, like I said, I want to stress on a TV show, this was enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
In real life,
reality,
not so
yeah,
much.
this is horrible.
I don't know. He was bad, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He was an exterminator of people and he thought it was for the greater good, but I'm really thinking he's deluded himself.
He's a
Yes.
sociopath.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He
Yep.
just has no feelings about anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Scientists in the Third Reich
Yep.
excused that they were experimenting when really it was just torture.
Right.
Yeah, I thought it was a great way to end. I was like, crap, I want to go to the next one right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
And unfortunately, a look behind the curtain, I didn't feel good last week, so we didn't record this one. So that means we had to wait 2 weeks, and I apologize for that.
That's all
Yeah.
right.
I could have
Um,
watched it because I've seen it before, but I thought, no,
right.
I'm going to commiserate with you guys and I'll
And
wait.
be
Thank you.
fresh on it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so my curious now is both Johnson and Holden are going to be pissed
Sure.
that the option was taken away from them.
Right. Yeah,
And
what's the fallout there?
Miller is all out of F's.
Yep,
He does not care. It's just, hey, I did what I needed to do.
this guy's
Um,
worthless. Let's get rid of.
mhm.
Yeah,
And I also a little moment. I did not connect this the first time I watched it. I watched it the second time last night to get ready for our discussion of Miller and the kid with the headband had seen each other before. He
sure.
was,
Yeah,
and
he
so
was the
I did,
water smuggler
yeah, so I didn't catch that before. So I thought
and
that
the
was,
nephew of the guy who got attacked by the Martian ship too.
oh, I did not put that together.
Yep,
Yeah.
he was the one that
So,
got spaced by his uncle.
and someone did find him, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I hope he comes back. I liked that character. The same part of the kid from Joey that got his head blown off at the very beginning.
Yeah.
It's that kind of vibe on him.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
exactly. Diogo.
Yep.
Yeah, I like him. He's in it for himself, but he also sees the bigger picture every once
yeah,
in a while, and he's enthusiastic. Let's put it that way. I do think that Fred, he had ulterior motives in bargaining with Dresden, right? No
yeah,
matter what bargain he would have made with them, he wouldn't have gone through with it. He would have made this bargain and then taken him hostage, quote unquote. That's in my mind, that's what he would have done and used him as a bargaining chip, as you guys were saying.
yeah,
I really do think that it was, hey, look, you could see the gears turning in his head as he was talking to him. And Holden's just standing there. And I thought, why is Holden just standing there? And he was there, right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, they boarded as well. Why is he standing there just watching this? And it's so he could see what
yeah,
Miller was going to do. I love that Miller just had no F's to give about it. He killed Julie and all those people on Arrows, so he's not worth anything to me.
yeah,
And
Yeah. This has always been a point of contention with fans is that to them, this seems out of character for Miller to do this. And I'm going,
no,
dudes,
yeah,
he just saw what happened to Arrows. The whole show, he's been trying to find Julie and he finds her dead because of this. Like, the guy's got lots of motivation for what he did.
a lot of motivation.
Yeah.
I mean, if we want to nitpick, it would be why would he have fallen in love that
With
much
Julie,
with
right,
just an image?
Yep.
right.
Exactly.
But if that's the premise, it makes total sense.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
definitely. I saw it coming. I didn't see it coming. Let's put it that way. But once it happened, I was like, yeah, I get it. I get it. He
Yep.
just had no patience, nothing. And he didn't see that they could have used him because he's not that guy.
No,
He's not a brilliant strategist, but he knows how to read people, and he could see that this guy just he wasn't gonna be worth anything to them.
and
Although I do think he probably would have been worth something.
it does. I did the fact that he, as you said, he was not very good in space, but once he got there,
Hmm.
he's back on his level. That was very well done.
Yeah. I love that he's okay, you guys go this way, you guys go
Yeah.
that way. He's all in at that point. He's honed in on the situation and he's ready to go. And I want to ask you guys, this Dresden, he had
Mhm.
it in his head that this molecule could make humanity better. And I'm wondering, what is he trying to save humanity from? It,
Created the protomolecule.
yeah, I get that was supposed to be some kind of weapon, but in my mind, I'm like, what would that do? Why wouldn't they just destroy it? But this guy is all weirded out about trying to modify it for some purpose he only knows about. How did he get that might help humanity? I'm a little confused about that, but I also see that he was very single-minded and he wanted to experiment and see what this thing could do. I don't understand who he was doing this for. other
Uh,
than Mao.
for him, I'm just going to read from the episode recap. It's an existential threat to humanity. He wants to, he considers the protomolecule a weapon that he wants to convert into something which could unlock all human possibilities in order to meet this existential threat.
Is
You
it,
can say that's delusional, but
yeah. Is it all distilled down to power?
no, if for him, I think it's a pursuit of knowledge and power in that he's looking to be able to prepare the human race for meeting this extraterrestrial or source that created the protomolecule in the first place. Because obviously the technology to create something like this is exceeds anything of Earth's capacity. The best he can hope for is to manipulate it into something that they can control and use as a weapon.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Is it
but it's delusional, I guess you could say. Um,
sure?
but for him, it's not. He sees this as an existential threat. And how people react to existential threats in the real
Yep.
world, if we can't agree on climate change, pick any hot button topic nowadays, and you're going to see one side looking at the other and saying, "You're crazy."
Yeah.
And depending on your mood, you can flip on what you believe, i.e., the Second Amendment. That, as we're discussing this administration that loves and believes in the Second Amendment is now criticizing someone that legally was carrying a gun,
Yep.
right? So, yeah, you're just manipulating something that absolutely to what you want to believe.
Yep.
So yeah, I thought this was a really powerful episode in a lot of ways, and I like how they're moving forward. There's a little nice moments like the second in command telling Miller, try not to throw up in your suit.
Yep.
Amos, hey, because I saw when Holden just set the coffee floating because you don't need to put it on a little table because there's no gravity. And then Avis going, no, man, dude, we're gonna change. Stow your
Tie it
stuff.
down. Yep.
Yeah, there's just some nice little moments here that
Which
I
is
really
so
like.
weird because Holden's a veteran space traveler. Like he
Yes.
would know that.
Yeah, but
So
they didn't have a lot of coffee.
right.
So maybe he's not used to
Or
Well, you
I
think
think
he
yeah.
he
would
just or
he,
distracted maybe. But
yeah, he
yes.
Mm,
must have been because
yeah.
yeah, he's such a
Yeah.
coffee nut that him forgetting about it, he
He'd
must
want
have
to
been
make sure
distracted. So
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah,
It's like putting on your seatbelt when you get in a car. It's now become second nature.
because he Holden knows that when you burn, that you're going to be hitting hard G's. So it was weird.
Yeah.
I thought it was a kind of a weird scene. Maybe it
Mhm.
was to show that Holden was distracted,
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
but I don't
sure.
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But don't waste coffee is what I have to say. I love it just as much as Holden does.
Yep.
Yes, indeed.
And you guys know that. Behind the scenes, I have a 56-ounce tumbler that I drink coffee out of all the time, and these guys see me drinking it.
And
So,
I have a half size regular mug.
yeah, it's not half size, it's a third size. Let's put
Third,
it,
there you go. But it is
take a
Perks
sip right
coffee.
now. Yeah. Yeah, it's not instant, right?
No,
Who wants
can't
that?
stand instant.
Me
My
too. It's
my wife and
gross.
son drink instant, but
Ugh.
Mhm.
yeah.
Tell them they're
Anyhow,
wrong. They're wrong. Okay, so let's move on to the UN. I know this is taking a long time, but I wanted to dedicate enough time to talking about it. There's a lot of things that happen in this episode. We'll go to the UN now,
as
and
usual.
yeah, I know. We'll go to the UN now and talk about the posturing, the maneuvering. This kind of hits close to home right now with appropriate response, with being misguided. The government is doing government, and you can tell that Christian, she's playing along, but there's also machinations going on in her head. And I feel really bad about Souther. Is that his name? Souther?
Yep.
The the
Southern. Yep. The
yeah, the
Admiral.
admiral.
Yep.
I feel bad about him. There's a discussion right now about disobeying lawfully given orders, and uh, they're lawfully given, but that doesn't mean they're lawful. And that's how he felt that they were wrong. They were doing something horrible, and he could not, on his conscience, go through with them. And then they ask him, where's the checks and balances? Where's that? He's there for that, right? But he dissents, and they're like, okay, we'll just replace you with someone who does agree with us. And it shows a lot about governmental stuff. And again, they're not preachy about it. They just show it as it would happen. Again, with Aaron Wright, he's such a slime ball. Christian actually speaks up in the meeting and goes along with it out loud so that they don't see that she's doing something else in the background. I loved that. She knows what to do. She talks to Souther in the bar as well and puts words in his mouth until he finally speaks up and says what a terrible person she is. If he only knew. And then we see Kotiar again listening to the conversation and going along with her plan to commit treason, but for the right reasons, maybe, right? Let's talk about that whole thing. I'll start with you, Jesse.
Yeah, I liked this feeling. I like the beer better than I did the scotch.
Oh, Lagavulin, right? Such
Yeah,
great scotch, for sure.
it it is this how do you I did think that because there is currently, as we're discussing this, Mark Kelly is being prosecuted. Persecuted is a better word
Yep,
for he is one of the most visible people that there were several former military people spoke out and said, it is your duty to not obey unlawful orders.
correct.
And this administration is saying, hey, no, you have to follow orders no matter what. I was just following orders is a catchphrase that history has not held in high regard. It is not aged well. And in this case, I thought of the line in American President where Michael Douglas says, someone will have to explain to me sometime proportional response. And they had a similar scene in West Wing, both written by Aaron Sorkin. And the idea, and they
Yeah,
go,
it
go ahead.
this it really shows when they persecute this guy for saying don't obey unlawful orders, when they say that they're going to commit something that's unlawful.
To
Because
him.
why
Yeah,
else would they persecute this guy? So
yeah.
anyway, go ahead.
And yeah, I see their point. A base for a base. We're picking someone where there'll be minimum casualties, not no casualties. We are going to kill, which also goes back to the Kevin Smith joke about the poor contractor working on the Death Star,
Yep.
just trying to make a living and now is dead. So it, and it does cost him, I assume, and this is how I work. Okay, so he doesn't lose his pension or anything. Like he's done enough work
No, they
that
transfer him.
yeah, we next time we see him, he's not in uniform. It's the only reason I thought that. I was curious if they were transferring him or was they forced to retire. And it and I did like his I'm not gonna let's not pretend this is volunteering, right? That he did say, hey, they're forcing him out. If you can't, and I don't think either one of you watched Landman, but there is a scene that reminded me of this where Demi Moore makes a decision because someone isn't in the same mindset as her. And it was, you get it, you understand why, you don't like it, but you understand. So, yeah, I thought, and then of course, we have Asher listening on the side. We don't know where they're going to go. So, yeah, I think this was really, this is the it is interesting how much politics is in this. And
And more on
so,
the books.
yeah,
Mm.
and I like it. I like it a lot.
Let's go to you, Lou.
I think you guys have covered off most of the UN stuff quite well. So I'm going to just throw out two food thought points. One is it strikes me as very interesting at how big or how important the UN is in this world. Like normally in this kind of situation, you would expect it to be the United States making these decisions on their own. But it seems that in this future, the UN, which right now is it's pretty powerless, really. It's an idea that hardly ever is applied to reality. But in this future where we're talking on planetary scales of interactions, especially Earth and Mars, it's interesting to see how the UN has taken over the whole world, which is probably one of the most biggest leaps of faith I would ever have to make about anything. So I find that part of the story is probably the one that I have to make the biggest leap of faith about anything else that happens in this series is that the UN is now calling the shots for Earth. Like I just that's a big leap that especially in our current world where you have three big powers vying for to be the top dog. And the other food of thought I want to leave with you guys is the how Souther ends up at the end of this episode in that Aaron Wright is the one that wants to go beyond a trade embargo and he wants to do an eye for an eye kind of action. And Christian is actually the one that agrees with him. And she does this knowing that Souther is opposed to this. And I speculate that she knows Souther's character well enough that if they go ahead with this action, he's gonna quit. So do you think she manipulated that situation into having Souther quit because she wants to have somebody out in space because Souther is going to take a command of a ship? That she wants somebody out there that she can call upon as a future piece and
Sure.
whatever strategy that she has going down the road. So I just want you guys to ruminate over that for a while. You don't have to answer it right away, but
Yeah, no, she's one of those characters that I think can read people,
yeah.
and she knows him well enough to know that he won't go along with it. So I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. She's hoping he gets transferred instead of just quitting altogether so that he can be out on the front lines when she needs him to be. At least that's my read on it a little bit. She definitely holds him in high regard, I think, even though it's not reciprocated. I
Mm.
think she sees his character and her going to him at the bar and asking about Fred and also saying, yeah, I know you hate me. Let me know. Let me have it. And then finding out about Fred Johnson and using it as well. She is making chess moves when the rest of the UN is playing checkers.
Yeah.
And she's smart.
Yeah. Jesse?
So I think that she was manipulating them to destroy that station. And then once she saw that he, asked to be transferred, that was a side benefit that she had not planned on
Hmm.
and was like, oh, okay,
Mm,
now I can use that to my advantage. I
Okay.
just don't know, and she might be that smart, but I was thinking this is just a repercussion she saw, and since that happened, what she really wanted is for them to, and I'm not quite sure what she gains out of them destroying that base,
That
unless
she's
she's
playing
just,
along with
yeah,
him,
her
right?
trust.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
They think she's on their side, and I think she
yeah,
needs to play it that
Yeah.
way, right?
Yeah.
yeah. So that's my feeling is and I wouldn't be shocked if it turns out that she did think that would happen, but my
Hmm.
gut is no, this was just when she saw it happen, she went, "Oh, here's another thing I can do," because she's always trying to think two or three steps ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just say, in addition to what I said before, is that she's very good at reading people, but she also does the research. Like she's gone to visit Holden's mother to
Mhm.
learn more about him, and when she meets with Souther at the bar, she wants to find out what he knows about Fred Johnson, and that's when we
Yep.
Mhm.
get the big reveal that Johnson was duped into attacking that station after, even though the Belters had surrendered.
Yeah.
She's not just flying by the seat of her pants. She puts in the work. She does the research. So
Mhm.
that's something else to keep in mind.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Good.
we also need to keep in mind Fred's whole countenance that why did he not defend himself? Why did
Yeah,
he not say, why did you do this? Why did he not stand up for that outwardly instead of taking this behind the scenes thing where he's going to be sympathetic to the OPA? People don't know about it. There's a lot of maneuvering going on with him too, I think. I
right.
think
And
he and Christian would get along.
yeah, and she's obviously got something in mind because she asked Asher or Kotiar
Yeah.
to find a way to contact Johnson off the grid. So she's
Mhm.
definitely got something going on there. And the other thing I'll just close on this topic for me is where Sellers tells Christian, Fred Johnson, he's an honorable man who held on to his soul, and that's a tough thing to do in this line of work. So
Mhm.
I think that's
Yeah,
a very important line.
yeah,
Good.
same. You can apply it to him as well.
And Christian will remember that.
Awesome. All right. So, any last thoughts about the episode, Jesse?
No, just another good episode. I'm liking how we're headed and where the series is going. It's good stuff.
And you, Lou, any
I
closing
just
thoughts?
would like to comment from a technical perspective. I thought the space battle was done really well. Alex maneuvering the Rocinante or inside the ring of the space station to avoid being in line of fire, and those rail guns are pretty scary.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. Rail guns exist in real
Yeah,
life
yeah,
too, which scares me.
yeah,
The bullets can go almost the speed of light in real life,
yeah.
which is crazy to me. So that is a very quick attack. I enjoy that they use real world
Physics.
technology and physics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we gonna rate it? What's your rating, Jesse?
Yeah, I think this one, 8.5 floating cups of coffee.
Dude, that's what I was gonna do.
Sorry.
How about you, Lou?
I'll give this 8.5 final solutions.
All right, I'll give it 8.5 spacings.
Nice.
Yeah. And fist bumps at the end there. I wanted to give Miller a fist bump. So with that, we're gonna say goodbye to you guys. Where can they find you, Lou?
Just a short little aside I want to do before I sign off is we got a comment on another
Mm,
podcast, our final episode of 12 Monkeys, from KO 7772 says, I just wrapped 12 Monkeys and really enjoyed it. As you all noted, all the connections among the characters, both emotional and overlaps, were handled so well. Chemistry off the charts. Good convo among you all and a solid recap. So I just wanted to say a shout out to KO
Oh,
7772 for doing that. And as I remarked to them, we're doing the Expanse right now. So come join us on this
come
journey
on
too.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
that's
And
great.
yes. And as for myself, you can find me on this channel, JKL Media Reviews, where we are currently doing the Expanse. And we also have on my home channel, Lou's Reviews, our archived episodes of Babylon 5, the entire series, plus the animated movie. Switching back to the JKL channel, we've got a whole bunch of one-offs, usually short run series, Station 11, Devs, The Peripheral. We've done a couple of Bruce Springsteen episodes, comic book episode, I believe, as well. So lots of pop culture stuff in there for you guys to check out. And on Twitter and Blue Sky, you can find me at Lou W. Sitzma, Sytsma.
Awesome. Jesse?
I am at Jesse Jackson DFW on Twitter, Blue Sky, Jesse Jackson DFW on Instagram. You can hear me talking on Small Council Matters with my fellow small council matters, we're discussing Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the new HBO series based on George R. R. Martin's series of novellas. It's a very different Game of Thrones type series, but we're having a lot of fun. And as always, talking music on Set Lusting Bruce and Doctor Who on Next Stop Everywhere.
Excellent. You can email us at jklmediareviews@gmail.com. I am at Aleveria, Aleveria, on social media, Instagram, as Jesse just said, Blue Sky, Twitter. I don't check those anymore. And even YouTube, I think I'm at Aleveria. But I want to thank everyone highly for listening to us because I like to think that we talk about some stuff that maybe others don't. I don't know. Maybe that's me being a little self-centered, but I really do feel like we have some insights that are interesting to hear. So I want to thank you guys for listening. And with that, let's say goodbye, everyone. Bye.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
And
And scene.
scene.
Yay.
The proceeding has been a JKL Media production.